So, welcome to this week's episode of Crap No One Tells You. With me today is a friend of mine, Sam Pagel from Core 3 Physical Therapy. And she's going to talk to us today about crap no one tells you about being an office manager.
Yeah, yes, I am. Hey, how are you, Gummy?
I am good. So, let me start with the first question we ask everyone. What is some crap no one tells you about being an office manager?
Great question. I'd say the first thing that came to mind when you asked that is you better have a head big enough to wear 70 to 100 hats, because that's what you'll be doing. I definitely think you need to understand that you're going to be in chaos, and I love that and I thrive in that environment, but for some people that's not the type of worker that they are. So I definitely would say understand that you're entering chaos and be prepared for it, and it's going to be a good challenge for you. So,
Well, I remember when you guys first started, it was just two of you, right?
yeah, it was myself and we're owned by Caleb and Danielle, their husband and wife. And at the time, it was just Danielle and myself to start. And then Caleb joined on a year later when we had the patient volume for it. So yeah, it was just the two of us.
Then from there, it exploded.
It exploded. Yeah.
Went from being nice, easy management,
Yeah.
the occasional paperwork, to holy crap, what's
Yes.
going on, right?
Pretty much, yeah. It was a great problem to have, but because Danielle and Caleb are great, and I knew that we would be kind of where we are at now. I didn't know this quickly, but I definitely knew that this was in the future. However, it did happen faster than we thought it would happen. So
You guys have like, what, 3 offices now? 4?
3 offices, the 4th one by the end of this year.
Okay.
And we opened in 2015.
Okay.
So we're looking to grow. That's our main focus, but with that comes all the
The other stuff.
yeah, I wouldn't say
couple more
downsides.
hats.
Yeah, because they're not downsides at all.
Right.
But I would say the more responsibilities, more stuff to put on your plate. You just
So-
have to know how to manage it.
So what's the day in the life of an office manager?
It depends.
Other than chaos.
You could be foolish to make a plan for the day, because one thing goes wrong and then it's kind of everything's pushed to the side. But I'd say a typical day for myself would be get to work. I check in with whoever asked me to check in, or who I plan to check in with that day, depending on what clinic I'm at. Because I'm at all 3, mostly in Chalfont and Hatfield, but I do stop by East Norton as well. Deal with any immediate fires, not necessarily negative fires, just things that need to be addressed right out of the gate. And then I go into, well, I used to do billing. Now we've passed that off, which is great. So now we have an employee who does that, which is nice. But mostly it was a lot of billing. I do everything with like our financial accounts, like money in, money out. I handle all the real estate stuff that we're doing now. So the 4th and 5th clinic that we're working on right now, I handle all those transactions, emails, things like that. And then, but if we're a little busier, sometimes I sit at the front desk to help, or if they need me at another clinic, I'll just sit at the other clinic and be at the front desk and get my work done up there, or I'll be in my back office. Like, I don't think I've ever had the same day twice, but it's all fun, because I think in our environment, we're coworkers, but we're also like really good friends and pretty much a family. So it's a nice environment, because you're helping out someone that appreciates it and would help you out in return. So sometimes the chaos is more of us just working together as a team and everyone pitching in where they can to get through the day. And sometimes the days don't need that and they're fine. But recently it's been
it's been chaos.
it's been chaos. But it's I would say not in sense of
It's like organized chaos.
it's organized chaos. Like, everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing. We're putting out a great service to people. However, sometimes I definitely think we just need to take a step back and look at it and be like, we're doing good. Like, we're doing a really good job here. Let's not sometimes we get a little too wrapped up in it. And we're like, everything's fine and we're good and we're doing a great job. So you just have to remind yourself of that.
And I don't think a lot of people realize that the office manager position is someone has a problem and the answer is normally, well, why don't you go talk to Sam about it?
Yes.
Right? Like, regardless of what the problem is.
Yeah.
So you're often the first step in any resolution of anything that goes on, because you kind of become the go-to person for everyone with everything.
Yes.
Like,
that is definitely a lot of my day is fielding questions or problem solving with people, things like that. I would say if it's a PT related question, pretty much goes to Danielle or Caleb. because they mentor and train all of our PTs at one point or another. And then if it's any question not related to patient treatment, I will get that. And I decide if I'll handle it most of the time. Sometimes I need to bring in Caleb and Danielle and we'll talk about it together. But a lot of times it's just anything from a question about payroll, health insurance, to scheduling, to vacation time, to what should I have done in this situation, to like employee relations. We're lucky that all of our employees get along really well, and that's not really an issue for us at all. Right. But in other office managers could have to deal with that of if employees don't like each other or they don't vibe together, because it's all about, my main job at the end of the day is maintaining the environment that we've created and making sure that environment stays the same regardless of what's going on in the clinic. I would say is my overall job title or job responsibility, is making sure that everything runs smoothly, and any hiccups I absorb or redirect.
So this is one of the things I think people don't realize, that in smaller entities as they grow, like you had happen, the office manager is responsible for a ton of stuff because everything gets dumped on them. But as the entity grows, there are certain things you're able to hand off. Like you just handed off the billing piece. Once you get to a certain size, I'm sure you'll find other things to hand off. Like HR probably is going to become a dedicated area. But during those growth stages, when you said they wear 7,200 hats, yes, the office managers end up doing a lot of the work that they probably shouldn't be doing. Like there should be a person dedicated to that, but you end up, like I always jokingly said, you're more like the COO than you are an office manager, because you're handling all of the operational side. You're just not providing the service.
Correct.
Right? Like the therapist is the one providing the service. You're doing everything else.
Yes, definitely. And it was nice because we did get to grow at a pace that I was able to keep up with it, and Caleb and Danielle and myself were able to grow with it. There were times when we got super busy out of nowhere, or there are times like during COVID where it would spike here or there, and our patient volume would go down. And I think we've done a really good job of setting like the policies and procedures in place that allow us to, if little things happen here or there, we have something set in place where employees know who to go to, employees know who they should be dealing with for the situation. We always try to include at least 2 employees on like every email to keep people in the loop, so that it's not just one person communicating with one. It's either it's a group of us, either 3 people in the email, or it's a group text, things like that, to kind of keep everyone on the same page. But yes, when you do think about it, the PTs do treat, and I not necessarily do everything else, but I'm responsible to make sure that someone is doing it. Right. And so like I do take a lot of pride in that, because it is day to day. I need to be kind of giving this job everything when I'm there, because that's another thing about office managers is people, like these are people's livelihoods that you're working with, and you're responsible for partially for their well-being, their happiness in the workplace, the conditions that they have, the expectations that are put upon them. That is actually a lot of the stress, I would say, is just that you're responsible essentially for these people's jobs, livelihoods, things like that. Like we never thought when we started, we didn't think at the time that would be the case. You just think employees come in, but then you realize, wait, we're the ones that set these metrics, set the environment, and I think Caleb and Danielle have done a great job with making this place a lot different than other PT places that they've worked at. They kind of saw stuff that they liked, didn't like, and they've adopted everything that they liked or wanted to be better into what we're doing now. So I think everyone knows our values, which we harp on and go over often. It's definitely helps to keep everyone on the same page. So when the chaos does arise, everyone kind of isn't a surprise to anyone. They're used to it, or they know what to do and how to handle it. So sorry for that rant, but that's pretty much the vibe.
It's actually, because I tell people all the time that what you're essentially talking about is you guys clearly developed your internal brand where you know what's important to you, what's important to the business as a whole, not just what's important to the individuals within it.
Yes.
So it sounds like you're actually the one enforcing those values, making sure they are being lived up to.
Yeah, I definitely would say. And it's nice when you're at a company where we're putting in all these hours because it's our job, but the owners are also doing that as well. So it's nice. It's kind of more motivating when everyone is kind of working that hard together, as Caleb and Danielle have and continue to do. And so I think it's maybe people experience something different if they're working really hard, but then they never see their owners or they don't know them or they heard about them once or they stop in every few months. That's not the case for us. So I think that definitely kind of vaults us a little higher, gets everyone more on board and like excited to go.
I believe that's called leadership.
Yeah, they do a good job of that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we do pride ourselves on being different and making sure that the new people we hire, they know that. We essentially say we're looking for someone that wants to be in a family-oriented environment, that wants to know that they're going to work really hard, but we're going to give you great things for that, as well as you're joining a family environment where we want you to hang out with us outside of work. We want to do things together. We want to kind of create that bond as well in the clinic when we're working, but also outside as well. And that really helps. And that's something that the patients have really noticed and kind of like jumped onto. Like they know that we're all very close. They want to hear about what we've done together, our weekends, things like that. It's definitely enforcing those values and that family-oriented environment has gone a long way for us, I would say.
So,
yeah.
you use the word enforcing,
Yeah.
which means
Not enforced, but just like
no, but
you know what I mean.
it brings up the question of sometimes whether you're in HR, whether you're office manager, whatever your position is, there are going to be times where there are problems, like actual problems, whether it's employees, whether it's someone did a billing error, the insurance, like whatever it is. So have you ever had to, I don't want to say use disciplinary action, but like when you guide someone that you see is straying outside of what your values are, how do you guys kind of bring them back to, listen, this is not what we're about?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that happens that often because we've done a really good job of vetting that out ahead of time. And especially since we take on students. So we take students from when they're in school, they have to do a certain amount of clinicals. So a lot of times we do hire some of our students. It's essentially like an 8 to 12 week interview, which is great. So that kind of helps us, and our interview process helps in that. But regardless, there's going to be issues. And most of the time we know each other so well, I'll know if that issue is because I'm like, something's going on. Like what's at home, or like there's something they're dealing with in their lives. I think I've gotten decent at understanding, is this a shift that we'll never be able to change, or is this out of character? I'll sit down with them and be like, hey, what's going on? Like, this is happening. This isn't like you, or I see this might snowball into something. Let's nip it in the bud. What's going on? I'll listen to anything. And I think the most important thing that I have found and that I make sure I always do in my day-to-day is if any employee asks me to meet, I pretty much will drop mostly anything to get that meeting scheduled as quick as possible. And I'll meet them if they're at a different clinic, I'll meet them. I'll let them set the time. And I think that's been pretty valuable for them to understand that they're valued and I want to hear what they have to say and let's work through this and figure out what is going on. Sometimes it'll be as little as they wanted to meet about like they're taking a vacation and they want to just let me know. Other times it'll be more complex issues. But I definitely think that I will always make myself available to them. And I think that then they know that I'm with them. I want to work out this problem. I just don't want to yell at them because then nothing really gets solved. But
very rarely does anything get solved by yelling.
So you can like just yell orders or demand things or have expectations and say, hey, you're not meeting them. You need to meet them in 2 weeks or we'll reevaluate this process. That's not really how we like to do it. We definitely want to, since we know them so well personally, it's more of a conversation it's like blurring out lines between friend and boss in a sense of, no, I want to sit down and just talk, like something's going on, let's figure it out. And I think that has helped a lot because now there aren't that many issues that snowball. They'll just come. They're way more inclined to come to me.
Right.
So I think
before it becomes a massive issue.
Yes. So sometimes during the day, I could have a few employees do that about various things, and that's when I'll get a little off track of what my game plan was for the day. But I try really hard never to. To stray from that. Like I'm just gonna keep that mindset with how I manage my coworkers because I think it's beneficial and it has more positive effects than other ways.
So you're telling me that as a manager, you should care about people? What an epiphany.
Which is wild for people to think of. But you always hear stories.
Trust me, I talk to people about company culture all the time and how owners, managers, and employees are part of the culture, meaning that they're actually the one that kind of create it, but management is ultimately responsible for enforcing it.
Yeah.
Right? That it's being lived up to, that And that starts as early as in the hiring process, which you just said, we do theoretically 8 to 12 week interviews. So you really get to see how do they fit in with our values? How do they fit in with the company? And I think that is very underestimated when it comes to managers in general, whether you're an office manager or whatever it is first of all, a lot of them don't know what the values are, but you work directly with the owners. So you guys have a lot of that. You have it documented. So it's relatively easy to enforce or, make sure people are living up to it, I should say, rather than enforcing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we also have an approach. I don't know if you ever read the book, Turn the Ship Around. It's kind of talking about how in the military, it used to be very, one person would report to someone, that other person would report to them, and so on and so forth. But no one was ever really thinking for themselves because they would just get actions that they were told and then just perform those actions. And it was I think it was a submarine ship where this commander wanted to instill, I'm going to give you an order, but I want to see how you would have done it first, or the top-down approach. Like, if there's a problem, come to me with the problem, but before I give you my answer or my solution, I want to hear your thought on it or your solution first, because one, it could be something that I didn't even think of that is way better, and two, it just gets you thinking and being able to problem solve so that, which we do like people to grow within our company, so that when you do continue to grow, you know how to make more informed decisions, better decisions, and to kind of know how to lead people a little more than you would have if we didn't do that. And it kind of takes ownership over what you're doing and not just employees dumping questions on you, which my employees don't, so it's great.
And you guys have a pretty good retention rate as far as employees go.
Yes, we definitely do. We've had a few PTs that have moved out of state and things like that, and that's going to happen. And but we always we throw them a party or try to like make it, because we're family and we're losing one of our own, and it can be for a multitude of reasons. But yeah, we do have a decent retention rate, and that's kind of what I think we all take pride in, and we make decisions to kind of keep that vibe going. And there is a time where you just have to sit down, buckle up, and everyone just has to work. That's just what it is. But a lot of times we do things to kind of make ourselves different, and retention is something that comes from that, which is nice.
So based on how much you've been smiling during this conversation, I'm going to say this is the fun part of your job.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about the other side. Because it's not all rainbows and unicorns, right?
No, it definitely isn't.
So what are some of the things that not that I'm saying that you necessarily dread doing things, but like if you had to prioritize your list, like this is what I love doing, which is apparently this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then on the bottom you have this is the stuff I hate doing.
I think it would be, hold on, I'm actually trying to think. I definitely would say like the paperwork end of it. Like, and scheduling things. It can be difficult because a lot of our, me, Caleb, and Danielle, as well as a few of our other office managers, we do like to have different types of meetings throughout the week and things like that. And I love having them, but the scheduling part can be difficult, getting everyone on the same page at the same time to meet, things like that. Or in terms of getting, what am I trying to say here? I'm going to word this correctly.
You can word it incorrectly.
Yeah. So it's that on that end of like getting everyone together in one room sometimes, because we could just we're all working, so we could all be at different clinics. So I think it's organizing when we can meet can sometimes be difficult, and something that isn't that fun, I would say. And then on the other end of it, like some email. There's tedious emails out there for everything. Responding to emails, paperwork, things like that are things that I don't love doing. We have to do it because it's part of your job.
Correct.
Kind of like how PTs, I think, would say documentation, like their notes for the day.
It's like we had someone in here. We, one of the things that came up was they loved everything they did if it wasn't 70% bureaucracy.
Yes.
Right now, I was like, yes.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Or there could be times when you know a meeting's coming and you know what it's about and you want to handle it and you're going to go handle it, but you're like, I don't have maybe the bandwidth for this right now. Right. Or if it's at the end of the day and something happens, that's more when I'm like, whew, kind of a thing.
Do you structure your day? Like, I know you said you walk in and you have a plan, right?
Yeah.
And we all know how great those are, right? When you actually get a chance to organize your day, like, do you deliberately organize it so you do meetings in the morning or paperwork in the morning, answer emails during a certain time? Like, how do you try to structure your day when given the choice?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think it is, our profession's a little more difficult than I think office managers in other fields where my meetings with people are based off their schedule, like their patient schedule. So if I need to meet with a PT, they could be booked the whole day, and we'll either schedule it for the next day, or if someone cancels, then we'll be like, oh, you have 30 minutes right now. If you want to go,
Right.
this is a good time to go. So I'm more at the mercy of employees in that sense, because they want to meet with me, so I absolutely want to meet with them, and I want to get it done that day, but I'd rather just let them get done their stuff first. I'll wait, and I'll kind of sneak in when they have time, I would say, because or we'll schedule it, we'll push it a day back, but I just can't do it. I have to, like, if you want to be like, you know what I mean? Like, there's certain things that I'm like, I'll just be thinking about it all night. I'll be like, well, what do you want to talk? Like, I wonder what you want to talk about. What could it possibly
I wonder
be?
if there's a problem. I wonder if she just needs vacation.
Yes.
Like, what?
And it gets
So it bugs you.
it bugs me. You start to think about what it is, and here their like computer cord broke and they need a new one, and I'm like up at night thinking like, oh my god, what's going on? So I definitely like
Maybe
yeah.
you should start asking for not just a meeting, but also get like hey, can I have a topic?
Yeah, no, I started doing that. I've been like, not how serious, but I'm going to be like, is this like building on fire or not?
Or like I need new shoes.
Yeah,
Right. Like.
yeah. And we all, like, the employees always laugh at that. They're like, no, like let's just meet tomorrow, no worries. And I'm like, okay, sounds good. But I definitely think that my tasks sometimes do get pushed to the side, but then I just finish them up. I can get them done pretty quickly then at the end of the day, or I have a computer at home, I can just do it there. Or some other things aren't time sensitive, I can just push it to the next morning. But the stuff that is time sensitive, I'll just wait at work until it's done and then go home. Yeah. But I think
I'll be there till 9 o'clock tonight.
Yeah, but it's nice because I do have a lot, I've been given a lot of autonomy, so with my schedule and things, so it is nice for me to know that these things are urgent, I need to get them done, I'm going to get them done today, but one or two other things, in order for me to get these urgent things done, everyone understands that I'm not going to get those things done until the next morning. So it's not really an issue or something that I have to stress about, because at the end of the day, I know I'm getting my work done or doing what I need to do, but sometimes the shuffling of the day or rescheduling or recirculating what I need to do can be a lot to handle. Yeah.
So back to HR. When you guys are deciding on who to offer a job, right? Because basically you've said with the training, you get to know them really well.
Yeah.
Who is the ultimate decision maker when it comes to offering someone a job moving forward after they've been with you? Like, is it a group decision? Is it you? Is it the owners? Like, who ultimately makes the decision, or is it a group decision?
That's a good question. Typically, if it's a student of someone that is in Caleb and Danielle, we'll see it because we'll see them treating and we'll see that they're a good one, or they're like a little above and beyond what we've seen recently or ever, and we'll know, hey, we might want to hire them. However, their CIs, the therapists that are with them all day, every day, they typically tip us off on one way or another. Like we could perceive things one way, but then actually what's happening is not how we perceive it. So it is nice to have that intel from our staff, and I think owners do a really good job we collaborate a lot. So if like me, Danielle, and Caleb would sit down and meet and one of us was hesitant, we'd sit down and hear those reasons why they were hesitant and talk it over. So I think it is nice because no one's ever like, this is my way or the highway, right. which has been great. We get to have a lot of people's feedback. And there are times where we're like, thank you for the feedback. Well, we're doing this kind of a thing, like too much feedback. But we never want to stop them from giving it to us.
Correct.
So we
sometimes an executive decision is an executive decision for a reason.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. But pretty much the three of us are always, when it comes to hiring, the three of us are pretty much always on the same page. And if one of us doesn't know them as well as the other two do, or didn't get to be in the interview with them, if they weren't a student or wasn't at the clinic, don't work at the clinic where the student was at, we seek other help. But typically it's a group decision between the three of us with outside help from other people.
Right. So employees technically have input.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And there's employees, we definitely value their opinion, and we know the intel to take and the intel to
but it's
also,
also
need that info.
Part of that is also, I mean, because you guys are so clear on your values, employees know, everybody in your organization pretty much knows what's important.
Yeah.
So as they work with someone, you pretty quickly figure out whether or not the core values align or not.
Yes, pretty much. So that is very nice that we get that nice little 8 to 12 week interview. That's good.
Yes.
But
Have you ever had to hire off of just doing like short interviews, bringing someone in, talking to them a couple of times, and then you have to make a decision? Or do you guys pretty much almost exclusively recruit through the internship process?
well, we will hire outside of that. Absolutely. Like we have ads up now for pelvic floor therapists and orthotherapists. We definitely look to the students first, but sometimes we don't have students for a while, or there's going to be like 6 months till another one comes in, or it might be their second clinical and not their fourth, where they're graduating in a few months, kind of a thing. So absolutely, will we hire outside of that? That's typically we have to screen obviously the applications, phone interviews, in-person interviews. Sometimes they come back to shadow for the day, because also for them as well, we want to make sure that they know what we're like. And sometimes it's not necessarily just us vetting them out. They need to fully understand if they can handle what we're doing or not. Right. Not that what we're doing is like crazy rigorous compared to others.
Here you go making sense again. So
Yeah.
The interview process is a two-way street.
Yes.
Huh.
I know. Yeah. Because there can be people that show up to their work, they just want to work their job 8 to 4 and then go home with their family, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just that our clinic, for our vibe, we look for a little different than that, I would say. Not even better or worse. It's just we have a different way of looking at how we hire, in sense of will they fit with our culture? Will they want to be a part of like a family-run, tight-knit group? And like we do a lot of stuff outside of work. We just did Painting with the Twist on Friday. We do a girls' weekend every summer. We have like Christmas parties. Everyone just went to the whole staff was at my wedding. Like it's the last few months ago. Like we're very tight knit. So they could be a fantastic therapist, a fantastic person, but just our vibe just isn't for them. So I think two-way interviewing is very important, because we want it to fit. But if it doesn't fit both ways, eventually one end is going to give out, and there'll be a separation. So we try very hard to hire the aces.
So during the growth stages, as I was going to call them, because like I said, you guys grew pretty rapidly.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that surprised you? Like, because everybody knows, there's going to be problems when we grow, right? Like, yes, we're going to have busier days. Yes, we're going to have, but then there's always those things that no one told you about. Those things where you bumped your head into the wall and you're like, why didn't anybody tell me this wall was going to be here? Right?
Yeah.
So what were some of the things you experienced during the growth process where you were like, I did not foresee this coming?
That's a really good question. I would say that there are ebbs and flows. You would think that you just grow, and as you grow, you hire people at the same rate, and it just keeps growing bigger and bigger, and you're appropriately staffed, and everyone's happy, and policies don't fade because it doesn't work for 10 people, it doesn't work for 100 people, kind of those things. So I think that's definitely not the case, and you don't realize that the way that you ran your company with one clinic won't necessarily work when you have 3, 5, 10, because when you were just one, you got to oversee everything, you got to control everything, and if you keep doing that and don't bring other people in and training them and mentoring them to be able to do what you're doing as you're growing, you're not going to have your set of eyes at every clinic like you want, kind of a thing. And you don't necessarily want it to be your set of eyes at the end of the day. You want to have trusted staff below you that are seeing things the way that you would see them, speaking the way that you would speak, kind of understanding what we're about and knowing how to enforce that kind of. So I would say that was difficult. I would say delegating, letting go of some tasks that you just held on to because you've done it for 2 to 3 years when we started, and you think that no one else can do it the way you do it, but that will lead to your mental demise as well as the demise of like the policies and procedures you're putting in. So I would definitely say you're not going to be able to hire as quickly as you think you can, and if you do, it's really tough to find the ones that I just talked about, the ones that can carry through what you're putting out there. So I think that was something that there are definitely growing pains where you get so successful, but then there's like stagnant energy that comes with that because you don't have, then you get stuck to a point where you look to grow to that next level, but you need to make sure that infrastructure is solid before you make that leap. And I think a lot of people, when they start out, do things a certain way, but then when they add clinics or add offices, they don't adapt or change to what they're doing because how they did it always worked, and they don't understand why now when you triple your employees or quadruple your employees, why
didn't it scale?
why didn't it scale with it? So you have to constantly be reevaluating and readjusting and molding to the growth as well as like the environment around you. Like the hiring wasn't an issue 5 years ago like it is now for everybody. So it's like you have to be able to just adapt to internal growth as well as like external factors that you never predicted. So it's a lot. But definitely the hardest thing was we didn't realize that like the way that we set it isn't necessarily a way that like 100 clinics could run.
Right.
Doing it that way, and I have to let go, and we have to get things written down so that we could literally just hand what we do to someone and they read it and we train them with it and it's exactly what we want and they know how to do it.
Right.
And Caleb always makes a joke like if I wrangler I could just die. Like if I die, you know what I mean?
Right. But
like
that's what I tell my staff all the time is like if I keel over tomorrow, you guys should be able to step up and do everything that gets done around here. Like,
Yeah.
I shouldn't be the bottleneck.
Yes. There should be a person at the company that can absorb, even if it's different people, absorb everything that I was doing, kind of. I mean, obviously, I think I'm the best, but no, I'm just kidding.
But I learned that lesson very early on because I started franchising. And one of the things they tell you is if you ever want to franchise your business, you got to document everything, right? Because theoretically, when someone buys a franchise, they are buying the processes, procedures, the how-tos, all of those things. Yes, they bring their own personality to it, but they should be able to open an office with whatever documentation you have.
Yeah.
And especially because you guys are in the industry, you can't just take one clinic and have 100 therapists in a single clinic.
Yeah.
Geographically, it simply wouldn't work. There's not enough business in that region to support that.
Yeah.
So you guys are forced to open locations that are convenient for the patients to come to, because they'll only drive like 3 miles, 5 miles, whatever it is. It's
for ortho, yeah.
Yeah, it's super short, right?
Yeah.
And it's one of those interesting things is businesses that are forced into that situation. I tell them all the time, document everything. Like you should almost have like a handbook at each location where someone can go in and look, okay, what's if the Christmas tree catches on fire, that's on page 94.
That's how like granular we want it to be. And Caleb's has been the driving force in that, kind of like the McDonald's approach. Like everything is the same no matter what McDonald's you go to. It's the same setup, the same vibe. You know where the bathrooms are. You know what the color schemes. You know what's on the menu. Blah blah blah. He's been a huge driving force in us adopting those same like policies and procedures, and that's something that we're in right now as we're finalizing all of those. Like we had it before, but now this is kind of like the next level policy and procedures for our next leg up, our next step up. So it is definitely very important because you can't grow unless that's secure, which is something that other people also learn the hard way. Because a lot of businesses fail, not necessarily because, like you always hear about the ones that fail because business isn't great, but there's also sides where business grew too quickly.
Yes.
They couldn't handle it. They are now not providing the customer service or the service that they used to. Everyone ditches them, and that's why they fail.
Yes.
So it's tough because sometimes people only look at it on the business wasn't great, that's why you failed. But a lot of times you wouldn't realize it's because
You grew fast.
you grew too quickly and you couldn't handle it, and you lost any traction or momentum that you've made.
You destroyed your reputation in the process of building it.
So we're very cognizant of both ends of that as we grow. But yeah, it's a fun time.
I think we may have to rename this podcast to Crap No One Tells You About Growing a Business.
Yes, pretty much. It's a lot. And I don't know if you ever read the book, The E-Myth, but in that it talks about how the myths for why businesses succeed or don't succeed. And in that it says, there's an example of a woman who makes pies. She loved making pies. So she opened up a business to make pies because she wanted to do that all day. But what she didn't understand was she knows everything there is about pies. She knows absolutely nothing about running a company that makes pies.
Yes.
And so that's where kind of you hear stories of small businesses kind of sucks the soul from the people that started them and their passions, and that's why. But if you have people around you that can vault you in areas that you're not great at, that's when things become really successful. And I think that's what we have. So
With the team you guys have.
yes.
Yeah. But it takes 3 of you.
Yes. And we definitely have, and now we're trying to grow underneath us, and we definitely have a nice foundation with that as well, with the office managers that report to me.
But it's interesting because I don't know all three of you, but I know you, and I kind of know one of the other people, and
Yeah.
I know nothing of the third one. But it's funny because it's like the stories you've told me, and I'm like, so they are three completely different personalities with three completely different focuses, and that's what makes this function as a well-oiled machine. Is because you guys make up for one another, where like you may not be strong in this area, but one of the other people is.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that's often undervalued in a company, is putting together the right team, right? It just so happened that the three of you that's kind of started this just worked as a team.
Yeah.
Because of how you guys are.
Yes, exactly. And we are very transparent about what we're good at and what we're not good at, and we've kind of either politely, forcefully, or someone has willingly given up a task that they're not great at within like the three of us. And I think that's nice, because stuff that I'm not good at, like Caleb or Danielle is good at, or vice versa. So it's nice that, and we're not like, I don't pretend to be good at something that I'm not. So it's nice that we're pretty transparent on that end. So all of us know when to kind of step in and take it ourselves, or I should handle it, or I need to screen this email by you, or I need your opinion on this. It's been very nice. So it's been good.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
And we will be back next week with another episode of Crap No One Tells You.